Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where it's time to talk about BiSH's brand new song that's just come out as we get towards the end of this final release of songs that is marking the end, the disbandment of BiSH. And you know what though? This has been probably the best run of songs in their entire career. Now, before we get on to talking about this song specifically, still learning how to speak, it is important to point out that there's just one mantra that I've been repeatedly saying every time I've been reviewing BiSH since I first covered them back in 2019, and that is the fact that I always loved that feeling that every time there's a new BiSH song and you pressed play, you didn't know what you were going to get. You just always knew it was going to be something really well done. And the fact that you knew you were going to have all their personalities and yet you weren't going to know exactly what the song was until it started playing, or even sometimes until it ended, that to me added this sense that they were just so diverse. They had such a wonderful mixture of voice talents, but also the ability to have a real mixture of writing styles and musical styles. Now, yes, I had said that as their career went on, their career started to feature some more and more samey songs, and yet in this final run it's completely flipped back over and we're getting the best BiSH we've ever heard. So where does this new song fit in? Well, let's talk about what it is. Well, basically it's a K-pop song, but before we go any further, I'm just going to justify that before anyone gets too mad at me. In fact, even when you type the name of this song into Google, you get the little thing where it says song, year released, and it literally says genre K-pop. So this is not just me saying it. Clearly it's been labelled that as that by them or by Google maybe as well. So I'm not the only person hearing it. And maybe it has got some connection to some sort of K-pop release that I don't know. I didn't go into that side of things, but yeah, you can hear straight away that there's a real heavy K-pop influence. Yes, the song is in Japanese. A lot of K-pop songs do get re-released in Japanese as well for the Japanese market as well. So that doesn't set it apart hugely. It does have the quintessential BiSH style though, and we're going to get into that a little bit more. First of all, let's just talk about those K-pop stylings. In that effectively, this is a song that has a kind of a dancey rhythm. It's fairly minimalist. It's not so there's not a lot of sounds. It's just that, you know, it's not overly filled sound space. You're not getting like too much loud strumming guitars or anything like that. You know, it's less of a rock song. It is very much about having that rhythm in there, having a catchy melody, but also having a melody that, as with a lot of more recent K-pop songs, is not too much about long held notes. There's a lot of sort of short, almost borderline hip-hop style rhythms going on in the vocal, and that seems to be the main thing this is taking from K-pop, is that as with K-pop music, it's trying to mix that feeling of both being melodic and rhythmic, having the best of the sort of catchy hip-hop styles that were all over the charts in the early 2000s, as well as having the melodic style that has always been a staple of a good catchy pop song. And I think they really nailed it here. It does get caught in your head, it is catchy, and it is a song where there is enough melody that the singers have something to work with and add their own individual styles. And that's when we get onto the next interesting thing, which is where does the BiSH element of this BiSH K-pop song really come in? For this part, I'm going to address both the vocal performance and also the music video to a little extent, because here we have, obviously vocally, very importantly, the one thing that has been so quintessential to BiSH's career is the fact that they have very different vocal tones. I mean, you look at someone like Aina, who's got a very sort of husky, jazzy voice, and then Ayuni's got a totally different voice, and yet she's really good for those sort of punky vocals. And then you've got someone like Momoko, who's got kind of a chilled out voice. It sounds very personal, almost like she's talking directly to you when she's singing. And that's something that with K-pop groups, I know a lot of the time they're really looking for voices that have a power or a certain, you know, that sound that is the current pop sound. And in being an alt-idol group, BiSH are designed to be the antithesis of that. So when you hear them doing something like this, that is a very current popular trend of pop music, hearing it delivered with these voices that are clearly so different and yet brought together by a sort of a unity of their mismatched nature, you end up with something that each verse, as is always the case with their better songs, has a feeling that they can sing the same melody and yet deliver a verse that's totally different. Because each time you hear that same line, it's being delivered with a different feeling and different personality. And yes, I think again, this is another example of how BiSH's quality both makes them great for those quirky, out there, weird songs where they can do something really unusual and different, but it also means that when they sing these more mainstream style songs, it does work because the sheer quality of their voices overcomes the fact that they could be considered to sound messy by a casual listener, thinking, oh, why do all these vocalists have totally different styles? For me, it just works, and I can understand it wouldn't work for everyone. If maybe you're more of a K-pop fan to begin with, and you hear this, I can understand you listening to this and going, they sound more like a mismatched group. However, I think that they actually sound very well matched. But then I'm coming from a background of listening to BiSH songs, and that being one of the qualities I've always looked for. However, one of the extra qualities that I really loved was in the video. And usually I talk about the video separately, but I want to bring this element in because, yeah. And by the way, I'm not here slagging off K-pop, by the way, because I've had my issues with K-pop as a genre, but K-pop does, as with any genre, have some really standout songs that are just great, and I've mentioned those before. However, in this case, seeing the way BiSH perform in their videos, almost always somewhat irreverent, a little bit crazy, again, coming from that alt-idol background where the whole idea is they're not your normal sort of pop group type of women. It delivers something really interesting here because the music video is directed similarly to what you'd expect from most K-pop videos. It's fairly straight shooting. It's mostly straight, scene, zoom in or zoom out, and then switch to the next scene. Everything is quite nicely framed. But here, when you get to each member, they're just that little bit crazy. Like from the very start, we've got Aina having the sort of speed motion flipped out, waving her hair everywhere, and then you've got obviously the bit where it's just a long prolonged look at Momoko just screwing up her face and going as cross-eyed as she can. Those little moments are again something where maybe if you're watching it as a K-pop fan who's never seen BiSH before, you might think, oh, they're trying too hard. However, if you're watching it as a BiSH fan, you're like, yeah, this is the kind of craziness that I'm glad that they've just transposed over. You know, they've done K-pop, but they've kept themselves in it. Yeah, this video is directed a bit more K-pop, but they're still BiSH. And that's the real fun thing about taking BiSH and putting them into all these different styles of music, is when you do that, you don't lose the BiSH. You don't lose what makes them special when they do these different styles of music. So yeah, again, I think that they as a group took something that would have been good anyway and just elevated it. And this just reminds us why we're going to miss BiSH so much when they go, even though I still have very strong beliefs that there will be some kind of, I think they're totally going to be gone. So what if we were just going to look at it and compare it on its qualities as being a sort of catchy pop song, a catchy K-pop song? Is it really actually that effective just as that big catchy single? Well, this is where it becomes kind of interesting, because obviously I did a video recently about how I think K-pop has somewhat hit an oversaturation point, where it's been around perfecting the same sort of basic set of rudimentary styles for long enough that I think it's kind of hitting the point where there's nowhere for it to go. So this makes it an interesting point for BiSH to add an article to that particular book of songs. And here I must say, given how competitive that particular market is and how oversaturated it is, I would not expect BiSH to come out with the most effective, catchy pop song we've ever heard from the genre, and that it is not. It is, however, definitely catchy enough to be notable. It does have enough personality to really stand out as being unique, though. The style of the production, fairly normal. If you were to take it out and to give it to another K-pop band, I don't think you would immediately say, oh, there's something different about this. And yet, again, it's not too stereotypical. It's not too straight down the line. It is really walking that line between doing everything you'd expect to make it part of a genre which has been very much done at this point, and yet giving it just enough to not become too, why are you just doing a copy paste of K-pop? I mean, that is the danger. I mean, the real danger is here is you wouldn't want to be listening to this going, oh, they're trying, but they're just trying so hard to do what's popular right now. It doesn't feel like that. That's the thing they've escaped. So again, we go back to this duality of, is it going to be more popular for a K-pop fan, a BiSH fan, or just a general person in the public who wants to hear a pop song and go, oh, that's catchy, maybe I'm going to check that out. And I think that's really its strongest quality, is it has kind of balanced all three of those. I would say for K-pop fans, I would imagine they would find this interesting and quirky and not like a disrespectful. I wouldn't find it to be a parody of the genre they love. I think for BiSH fans, they will appreciate that the BiSH personality is there enough to make it something which is a BiSH version of K-pop rather than a selling out to a genre that is currently very popular. And for a casual listener, I think it is effective enough and efficient enough that it is going to get into certain people's ears. They're going to probably enjoy the quirky vocal performances that give it a certain element of uniqueness. And I think it will be something that people will be able to drive up the charts just from, general casual listeners who maybe don't even know BiSH or maybe don't listen too much and just go, that's catchy, I might stream that sometime. I think this is probably the strongest quality of this song. After all that talking about how unique BiSH's style is, the way that this has all been engineered and put together, even the music video, we said they're doing like 12 music videos, 12 songs, one every month. They haven't had a huge budget for each one, but they've done a video that, if you look at it, clearly is on fairly low budget, but does manage to have all of the impact and styles that you'd expect from a K-pop video that make it kind of look engaging and draw your eyes in. So I think they've done everything very well here to deliver the most efficient version of those three things, the most efficient appeal across those three boards. So yeah, I think this song has a lot more going for it. This whole song video product has a lot more going for it than I think a casual listener might pick up on first listen. And I just think it's a really nice addition to BiSH's, a nice new string to BiSH's bow. So that's a great one. So, conclusion time. Well, I mean, in conclusion, I think I pretty much said it already. However, I do think this is really nice. I do hope we get a couple more. I don't think they're just going to stop at the end of this 12 songs. I think we might get a farewell song or two after that as well. I hope, and I say I don't know necessarily that BiSH will always be gone forever, even though this version of BiSH might be gone. I don't know. I don't see WAC being so quick to lose their biggest money spinner. However, I must say, I think this is a really nice addition to what they do. And that's what I want from BiSH. That's one of the things that I've loved about them so much. That's one of the reasons I've kept on coming back time and time again, is because I feel like each song almost always adds something. It makes a playlist of BiSH songs that bit more interesting and widespread than most other artists really can claim from their back catalogue, whilst also keeping the pure level of quality so high. It's not like you try something and then, we're just not good at that. Like, everything they try, they get the right people and they put it together. So I believe I was looking, I think it was a fella called Alan Shirakawa who was very heavily mentioned in the credits. I don't know much about him, but I had a quick look and he seemed to work with groups like Exile, who are a Japanese boy band, kind of similar to like the whole AKB thing, except for instead of being cutesy girls or hunky guys. But anyway, so he's going to have worked with that kind of like catchy, high impact pop. So probably they were really getting the right people involved here. I just think that this was really nice. Is it going to be one that I'm going to replay massively? Probably not. The style, I enjoyed it, is catchy. It's not one of my go-to styles, but it's definitely going to be one that's going to appear in a lot of BiSH playlists for me. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. Looking forward to seeing what you say in the comments, and until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.